in Auburn.
Josiah James, Jordan Bowden, Santiago Vescovi, Yves Pons, and John Fulkerson in that starting lineup. Santiago Vescovi, who's going to run the point. A month ago, he was in Australia at the NBA's Global Academy. He, of course, signs with Tennessee and rolls last month. He was inserted into the starting lineup at the start of SEC play about a week and a half ago. For the Bulldogs, along with Anthony Edwards, you'll see another impressive freshman, too. Xavier Wheeler has surprised. He's run the point very well for Tom Crean. Hammonds, Kamara, Gresham. You got 3 freshmen in this starting lineup.
All of them are learning to grow up quickly.
It's been an excitable building at times this year for Coach Tom Crean and the Bulldogs. They're looking to match their win total from a season ago with a win today over Tennessee. You saw Don Daly and Valentine, Owen Short, our great officiating crew. And it's Tennessee in the orange, Georgia in the white, Vols ball to get it started.
Both teams solid man-to-man teams. Both teams do not shoot the ball well from outside. If you told me one or two keys to the game, not turning the ball over and getting quality shots. Both of these teams are young teams with a chance to continue to get better.
Both turn it over more than 14 times a game. You're right, 9 freshmen on the Bulldogs roster. Xavier Wheeler, one of them. And then 6 for Tennessee on the other side. This is Hammonds, off balance. And there's James, strong rebounder, leads his club. Rebounds per game.
At the guard spot, at 6'6". He is going to be a very special player here in Knoxville.
Just watch both number 5s on the court today. They are physical, they play intense. They've got wide, athletic frames. And so Tennessee 0 of 2 from downtown to start.
I mean, really the first key for both teams is don't turn it over. No run out, easy baskets given up. Just run your offense, quality shots.
Hammonds attacks, plus the foul.
You love that because what they created right there is a downhill drive for a big guy. Rayshawn Hammonds, very mobile and agile, but they went side to side with the dribble weave. And watch him come off the screen and beat Fulkerson to the basket, and then the power to finish it. Really nicely executed play to get Ray Hammonds in some space to drive.
He's second on the team, 13.5 points per game. That is exactly what Tom Crean wants, the freedom, the movement on the offense.
That's right. They don't have guards or forwards. They have P's, right? Is it P's? Players.
Positionless basketball.
Yeah, they got everybody's a P.
Look at the roster page online, and you're right. There's no G's, there's no F's or C's. It's just player.
Good
nice trip off the top for James.
I thought Josiah James early in the year was deferring to some of his older teammates. His team is out without Lamonte Turner now. He has had to retire. You don't want to do that. That's exactly what we talked about, taking care of the basketball, good heads-up play.
Boy, Tennessee had the steal, then lost it. And the freshman Toumani Kamara gives the Bulldogs a 2-point edge.
Yeah, I just love Kamara, man. He's active, he's long, he's athletic.
Great shot blocker. Puts a hand in James's face. And Edwards on the move.
Yves Pons gets the opportunity to guard him. He is one of the best defensive players in the SEC.
It's quite an assignment. Edwards goes for nearly 19 a game. Highest scoring freshman in the country. Little space, and he knocks down the 3.
That's that range we talked about. Catch and shoot. Nice drive and dish by little Xavier Wheeler out of Houston.
Now it's Bowden left open on this side. Boy, the senior could use a couple of his first looks to go down. He struggled shooting.
Well, a guy who struggled a little bit shooting is Edwards, but just watch him move now, and he'll play off penetration. He's waiting, catch and shoot. That's exactly what Tom Crean is trying to continue to work with him on. Don't be fancy with the ball. If we get you a good shot, got to have the confidence to just load up and let it go.
Highest rated recruit to come to Georgia since ESPN started its rankings back in 2007. And there's James with the three.
This is a good start for Josiah because I mentioned earlier he deferred early in the year, and they have begged him to get aggressive offensively. He's a great teammate and a great all-around young guard. Scoring is going to be necessary out of him for this Vols team during the SEC play.
He already has 6 points. He averages just 8 a game. That's all. They're going to foul the floor before Wheeler's bucket.
Well, we haven't seen Vescovi get going yet, but as we mentioned in the open, Rick Barnes has got 2 young guards that he can really grow with, and he's got 2 more 5-star recruits coming in next year whose job will be easier because of the development of these 2 guys.
Well, there was a foul on Johnson a moment ago, and now you get the foul away from the ball, so it goes back to Tennessee. Look at this class that you're talking about coming in. A couple of 5-stars, plus Corey Walker Jr. from Hargrave Military.
Yep, Jaden Springer, an outstanding player. I'm old enough to remember his dad, Gary Springer, out of New York City, one of the great high school players really ever come out of there. But this is a tremendous class.
You couple that with the fact you've got Vescovi and James, the 2 freshmen. It's been a wild month and a half for the Vols, who, like you said, lost their starting point guard, Lamonte Turner. Vescovi jumps in mid-year, has provided some great depth. And John Fulkerson, if he continues playing the way he has the first couple months of this year, things are going to start trending in the right way for Tennessee. Arnell Gresham keeps it alive. All right, Georgia turns it over. And by the way, Rayshawn Hammond's playing now with 2 fouls. So it's Tennessee 8, Georgia 8 early on in the first. Are his brothers-in-law?
Yeah.
His
Jody.
His wife Jody,
Yep.
of course, was at Western Kentucky when he was there as an assistant.
That's right.
Jack Harbaugh, their father, was a head football coach at Western Kentucky.
And he won a national championship. I think it was 1AA back then. And you know who his quarterback was? Willie Taggart.
When did you know that you ran into Tom? What, he was a player at Central Michigan?
Well, he was actually just a young coach coaching in high school when I met him. That's where he went to school. He had the it factor from day one. He had a great thirst for learning and wanting to get better, and he hasn't changed. He'll call anybody for an idea.
You said it. One at Marquette, of course, going to a Final Four, went to a couple of Sweet 16s at Indiana.
Well, you mentioned earlier, Jordan Bolden needs to see that ball go through the basket. He has really struggled, and they need him to get back to the way he's played throughout his career.
Well, and now without Turner, like you said, not just James, but Bowden has to get going as well. He's first on 12 a game.
Yep.
And this is the first time in his career, for the senior that is, he is at the top of the scouting report. Yeah. He is the focal point. He's handled the pressure nicely. Rick Barnes still wants a little more from him. Tennessee playing with its first lead. Good slip to the basket. Jalen Johnson got tangled underneath.
Gotta make that one, man. That's a great cut, great pass.
There's Wheeler. Oh, the feisty freshman couldn't get it to go.
He has been a tremendous surprise. He signed to Texas A&M with Billy Kennedy, and I love his energy, and he does get to the basket.
Going all out for that loose ball. All right, so we've got a loaded day of college hoops on Saturday, as we typically do on ESPN. This is going to be a good matchup. Number 10 Kentucky against Arkansas. Look out, these Razorbacks right outside the top 25. They're 13-2 at 4 Eastern on ESPN, also streaming live on the ESPN app. Plus you've got Louisville and Duke. Dan, Jay, and Holly going to be there for that one Saturday at 6.
I'll tell you, Eric Musselman has done a tremendous job in his first year. He's got 2 terrific players, Mason Jones and Isaiah Joe.
Coaching in his DNA, of course. His father was in the NBA for a number of years. But we want to talk about reference the work ethic from Tom Crean. It is right there with Musselman. Elite coaches in the SEC, for sure.
And I think it goes back to the late Mike Slive and now Greg Sankey, the Commissioner. They really made an effort. How about that? Deep range. They have really made an effort to upgrade basketball. Obviously, SEC basketball is a great condition, but between the coaching, the facilities, this is a league that has really taken basketball serious over the last 3 seasons. And Greg Sankey gets a lot of credit for that.
That pass picked off by the transfer from Northeastern. Donnell Gresham is heading to the line.
That's what we talked about with those turnovers. Good job by Georgia to take a turnover and turn it into easy baskets. Sloppy pass right there. And watch the grad transfer. Now, if you're going to foul a guy like that, make sure he doesn't get that ball to the rim. And I thought Bowden could have gotten a little bit more of the ball and made sure he didn't go up and have a chance at 3.
So you got 2 turnovers parted on each side. That's the one you want to avoid, that high ball open court turnover. Georgia in the midst of a brutal stretch. This is the 3rd game of 6 straight to open up league play against teams that were in the NCAA tournament last year.
I know. Yeah, as a coach, you have to just weather that storm, and you can't make excuses.
Johnson misfires. Tennessee 2 of 7 now from downtown. Edwards. Watch him go to work. He wants another 3.
Oh, boy. Oh, boy. Watch out. He's heating up. And he did it off a defensive rebound, which is, you've got to be able to play in the open court as an NBA guard. And he did the whole thing right there. By the way, there is a Uros Plavic sighting right now.
You've got the Serbian who's in the middle of the paint wearing the number 34. There's Vescovi with the triple. Just received eligibility. Nice move underneath for Gresham.
Tennessee's got to get back in transition that time. But we've seen a little bit of the Anthony Edwards show so far.
No question. On the Tennessee side. So basically what we're saying is if you haven't watched Tennessee for like a month and a half, there's a lot of new players out there.
Yeah, exactly.
Vescovi, Plavsic, Bowden the constant. Now it's Gresham. He's been in the open floor many times in the early minutes, and Georgia has a 5-point lead.
That was horrendous transition defense by Tennessee. There is no way Donnell Gresham can get coast to coast like that. That was as much about effort as anything else.
Already 3 baskets in transition for Georgia. And here's the 7-foot Serbian, Uroš Plavsic, who after months of dealing with applications for a waiver, the transfer from Arizona, and appeals, he finally gets that appeal and the waiver to play at Tennessee. Foul takes us to a timeout.
And Kevin, we don't know if this guy will be the number 1 pick, but so far he is certainly making a case. Take a look. That's skill, and that's a great piece of officiating by Ted Valentine. This kid's going to be a tremendous player. Can you imagine not practicing and going into the SEC without any games and averaging 14 points a game? Now that's crazy. No exhibition games, no practices.
He arrives and just 6 days later he's unbelievable. And you can see, as you referenced, the 3 straight games in double figures. Went for 18 in that first game against LSU. Now he's got some range. He's hit 10 threes.
Big time. And I'll tell you, he hit 2 big shots at Missouri late in that game, which sealed the deal.
Tennessee has won back-to-back in SEC play, trying to push their record to 3-1.
Oh, nice pass.
There's Plavsic.
Yeah. Plavsic also technically a redshirt freshman. This is as we mentioned, both teams playing a lot of guys. I got to tell you, Kevin, it is so hard to win with young players right now in college basketball.
Except for that one, Anthony Edwards, I guess.
And you got a couple of those guys, like Kentucky gets every year, or Duke, you can do it, but this kid really is special.
So Edwards into double figures for the 13th time this year. James right at the rim, couldn't stick it in. And Tyree Crump, who's a 3-point shooter, he misses his first. I mean, just how difficult is it for Tom Crean this year? 9 freshmen. What do you have to do in that?
You got to teach every single day. And when we watched practice yesterday, all it was fundamentals. One of the things Tom Crean is teaching Edwards is to move without the ball, and that's a perfect example. When you're this good in high school, you have the ball in your hands 95% of the time. And as good as this young man has a chance to be at the college level, when you're playing with other great NBA players, you are not going to have the ball in your hands 90% of the time, unless your name is LeBron.
So Tennessee has to withstand the surge. Already 13 points for Anthony Edwards. We showed the highlights from his game against Michigan State, in which he had 37. There's Devontae Gaines with the follow.
Another freshman. Buffalo, New York, getting a chance to play.
His first point since that Wisconsin game, more than 2 weeks ago.
I think one thing I noticed on Saturday in that South Carolina game, Vol fans are going to be patient with this team growing up. This team's got a great future.
There's Wheeler with the scoop.
There's no way that the big fella can stay in front of Wheeler.
Well, and to your point, I think Vol Nation is reasonable. 31 wins a year ago. 80% of the scoring from last year's team is gone. That's including 4 players in the NBA.
Now, on the other side, watch the little guys. Wheeler to the rim, and that's just Matador defense right there by the big guy. Lofsich. I don't know what they list him at, but he's got to be no bigger than 5'8".
I've got a generous 5'10" down there.
No,
so.
no way. Listen, I know guys in that size range. Believe me. That's my area of expertise.
Nice vision. Crump couldn't handle. Hammonds back in. Playing with the 2 fouls. He buries a 3.
And that's what Rayshawn Hammonds can do. I would like to see him dominate a little bit more inside. But again, getting back to positionless basketball, much in the way Nick Claxton developed a year ago. That's Ray Hammonds.
Yep. Plavsic leaves it short. Fran, Georgia is thriving. 11 of their 18 shots have gone in, 67%. Maybe better. Hammonds gets another from the same spot.
Georgia has taken care of the ball. They've moved it in transition. And Al-Farouq Aminu. How about Jody Meeks? How about Jeremy Lamb? How about the Atlanta Hawks, Brandon Goodwin right now? How about Alvin Kamara? I don't know if he played basketball or not. Look at this.
It's Harris. Oh, with the stuff.
Jordan Harris became eligible for the SMU game, and the senior has been a great spark for them. I love his defensive energy.
Just his 7th game of the year, but he gives Tom Crean solid 15, 16 minutes off the bench. Well said. That energized the crowd.
Yeah, I just love the fact they've made that concerted effort to keep Georgia kids home. They're not going to keep every one of these guys home.
Shot clock winding. Pons rises. He can usually hit that. The biggest, of course, the epitome of what you're saying, I should say, is Anthony Edwards. Up the road, he was not concerned with the recruiting process and, hey, look at the big names like the Kentuckys and the Dukes and Florida States. He wanted to stay home, so that, of course, worked in Tom Crean's favor.
Yep. Do I want to be close to my family? Do I want to play right away? Do I want to be the man? And do I want to be coached by somebody who coached Dwayne Wade and Victor Oladipo?
Yep.
I mean, it's not that much more complicated.
Didn't take long for Edwards to realize Crean has helped many players, more than a dozen if I've got the correct count, reach the NBA and play very well at the next level too.
Now watch Jordan Harris here, just the energy. Again, coming back in mid-December and giving Tom Crean another weapon to go along with these young guys, and that kind of energy on the defensive end will certainly energize this crowd in here throughout the season.
Boy, this is as good a start for Georgia as it could have hoped for. 62% shooting from the field.
You know, I think when you open conference play, playing Kentucky here and then at Auburn, you know, your level of play has to rise if you're correcting mistakes in practice and working on fundamentals. We saw that the last 2 days of practice. It's very simple here right now, as Tom Crean is just teaching these young guys how to play the game.
Welcome to 2020, not just ranked Kentucky and Auburn teams, but, oh, by the way, they played a top 10 Memphis team about a week and a half ago, so Happy New Year to you. That's how you have to begin the year.
On the Maui early, right? Michigan State.
What does Tennessee have to go to? It's been a while since it's scored.
Yeah, I think the guy is Josiah James. I really do. I'd rather have the ball in his hands.
Instead, Pons. Johnson, he finds him. Good ball fake, but James leaves it short. And Pons with the follow. First basket for the junior from France. Fagan took a little contact on the way up. So Tennessee trying to string a couple baskets together.
The reason I want the ball in James's hands is he's got a chance to make plays. Because he can do a little bit of everything.
Right there, and he just couldn't get the roll.
We've seen him knock down threes. We've seen him get into the mid-range. We've seen him get to the basket, and right there, rebounding the ball is a 6'6" guard.
Couple of triples, already 3 rebounds. Josiah James, 5-star recruit, the top player out of South Carolina. And all the way back to Tobias Harris. He is the highest rated since Harris to go to Tennessee. Okay, so speaking of Tobias, you got the Sixers in action against the Bulls at 7 Eastern on Friday as part of our NBA Friday doubleheader. And then you got Luka Doncic and the Mavs hosting the Trailblazers at 9:30. Watch this game on the ESPN.
Now that I'm a hometown Mavs guy living in Dallas the last 17 years, isn't it amazing how many times the Mavericks are on the air right now? He is must-watch TV, probably one of the top 5 players in the NBA right now. He hasn't turned 21 yet.
Luka Doncic is unreal.
Yeah.
I mean, he's almost averaging 30, 10, and 10.
And 20 years old. That, as good as LeBron was at that age, you know, Magic Johnson, Michael Jordan, this kid is in that pantheon at the moment now. We'll find out 10 or 15 years from now whether that turns out to be the case over the course of his career.
Doncic and the Mavs, 6th seed right now in the West. All right, what are your expectations then for Anthony Edwards? Does he have the potential to, at some point, reach that pantheon?
He does.
What is his best skill at the next level?
You know, I mentioned this here earlier. His best attribute is the NBA size and athleticism for the guard spot. He can play the 1 or the 2. He can create his own shot. You know, if I had a comp for him, and I've thought about this, it might be somebody like Bradley Beal. And if you look at the numbers going back to Brad's freshman year at Florida, this guy has better numbers. Now, the team's not as good. But if you look at this kid's overall skill package, as you see, he leads the country in scoring. Now, there's some issues with his game. The focus every possession, especially on the defensive end. Feel for the game at times. But he definitely has a chance to be an NBA star.
The latest ESPN mock draft for 2020 has him right now projected as the #1 overall draft choice.
And I think one of the keys we talked about earlier, moving without the ball.
Yep. Great angle.
Yeah, watching post now. Talking 6'5" here.
This is James on him. In the paint. Got a little separation. The rebound to Pons.
That's a great matchup. You know what? The likelihood is Josiah James is not going to see him next year. He'll be a sophomore, and I think Josiah is going to be one of the best players in this league. I'm sure they've played against each other before.
Tennessee needs a bucket.
Yes.
It's been heat of its last 9. And it's missing some shots at the rim, too.
And these are shots that they have struggled with all season long. He carried that ball.
Wheeler He's tried that reverse once or twice. It'll stay here with Georgia. The Bulldogs shooting 52%.
Hall of Fame coach, and they were cheating. Okay, they were cheating. So I called the assistant coach, and I let him have it. I can't say the words I said.
Please don't.
And I went into Rick's office. I said, hey, that head coach is going to call you in 5 minutes. Why? Well, I just ripped his assistant. 5 minutes later, he came to my office and said, he called. And I said, what'd you tell him? He said, Fran's crazy.
The Fran Fraschilla, ladies and gentlemen.
Just a great mentor. 700 wins.
How about the block? It looked like it was Kamara got a piece of it.
Yeah, and I really think, Kevin, that playing the schedule Georgia has, and especially the last 2 games, they are much sharper tonight because of going up against Auburn and Kentucky. Lob. Oh.
And the foul. So it was Edwards looking for Christian Brown. Well, you're high on. You like this game.
Oh, I love this kid.
Another freshman.
He at Oak Hill Academy. Another one of those 9 freshmen, one of those top 100 guys that we talked about. The hardest thing for Tom Crean right now is they want to win and they want to be competitive in the SEC, and he still has to get these young guys on the court. And there's a balance between growing pains and mistakes and still thinking that, hey, you know what? We're going to be an NCAA tournament team this year.
Wow, Crump hits the 3. James had his head. He didn't have it on a swivel, and then he lost Crump for a moment.
That's an inexcusable play on an inbounds because you ought to be able to see the ball in your man. You got to put your butt on the sideline to see the inbounder and your man. James did not do that time.
Largest lead of the day for Georgia. Plavsic in his first game. He's left a couple hook shots short. You think this traces back to the last couple of games? This Georgia team looks a little sharpened after playing Auburn and Kentucky.
Absolutely. Good ball movement.
Wheeler.
Absolutely.
Foul underneath. So Edwards might have got clocked in the face.
I think one of the things that Georgia did not do well early in the season when they don't play well is they take tough shots. And we've seen some one-more passes tonight. We call them one-mores. Where you make the one more pass that leads to a better shot than the one you have. And of course, when Crump and Edwards are knocking him down, the game comes easier.
This Georgia team has struggled to hit from deep this year. As a team averages 30% from, or excuse me, shoots 30% from beyond the arc today. 7 of 12 in these highlights this season for Edwards.
You know my good friend Jeff Van Gundy says, right?
Yes.
When the ball is in the air, good coach, bad coach. Good coach, bad coach. If it goes in, you're a good coach.
But Tom Crean's looking like a great coach today.
Yes. Right now, Tom, Tennessee's got 4 freshmen on the floor.
Vescovi, he's hit a bunch of those in the early goings. Cuts. Oh, and he spins it in.
Nice pass, too, from Josiah James. Those 2 guys are going to hook up a lot the next couple of years. Watch this.
Edwards!
He's showing you the whole range of ability tonight in the first half. He's giving you the deep ball. He's giving you the drives. And that time, open court strength and power.
He is pouring it in with 17. He's almost at his season average. We're not yet done with the first half. He's defending Vescovi tough.
He can be a tremendous defender when he locks in.
Another steal. That's the 5th Georgia steal. Crump gives it to Edwards. Rises for 3.
This is a resume builder tonight. A resume builder for Anthony Edwards. This is why he came to Georgia and stayed home to get the opportunity for at least 1 year to put the program on his back. Now, it hasn't always been like this, but this is what he's capable of doing when he is locked in. And this just adds to that athleticism and power and strength we talked about. The skill level and the deep ball.
We did mention that he's the projected #1 overall draft choice.
He's playing like it tonight. Yep.
My goodness. 20 points. That's the most for Edwards in a half. Excuse me, the first half.
In the first half. Yep.
Lest we forget about the Michigan State game.
Exactly.
Remember, he went for 37 in Maui.
And 33 in the second half.
That's on the big stage, too. And tonight, Georgia is doing what Tennessee did to this team in Knoxville a year ago. They hung up 96 points on the Bulldogs and smashed them. They're giving it back this time around. Here's Drew Pember. He gets some minutes, and he swishes the three.
He can do that. Hometown kid from Knoxville. They love his long-range potential, and they certainly love the fact that he can shoot the long ball. Played really well on Saturday against South Carolina.
Timeout taken by Georgia.
12 in his career, but most notably, two guys who he reminds people of, and that's Dwayne Wade and Victor Oladipo. Now he's got to go. He's got 6.5 seconds.
With 2 seconds, Wheeler, well, he probes that baseline. He's had a good first half, misses that one. Edwards with 20 to lead Georgia to a 19-point lead at the break.
Green did not have to energize the Indiana fan base, but this is what he did at Marquette with students and people in the community to get that program going. Watch this drive right here. They tried to get Edwards off the back cut.
That was Wheeler, who had a fine first half as well. Here you go. You got Pons, who switches on to Edwards. Hammonds fading, and he was hit.
Good execution right off the bat. They went backdoor for Edwards, not there. They swung it to the second side. They got Edwards and Hammonds involved in a two-man game. Hammonds took advantage of the mismatch.
So third foul on Jordan Bowden. But Hammonds didn't have a half bad opening half of play either. 9 points, hit a couple of threes. Tennessee had a 12-8 lead in the early minutes. But then from the 13:37 mark on, Georgia closed out the half on a 39-16 run. If not for a Drew Pember three, this would be a 22-point game. So that helped the Vols slice it to 19 before the break.
Georgia really did a great job of executing their offense. But unlike Saturday, Tennessee did not make the Bulldogs uncomfortable in the half court.
Vescovi leans in and scores. So a good start for the freshman from Uruguay.
Good floater, too. That's part of his repertoire. He's got that Ginobili type game. Certainly not a Mono Ginobili type player, but very, very crafty.
Edwards wants a three right off the bat. So Tennessee can slice into the deficit even further.
Yeah, we know Anthony Edwards has moments this year where he's a tough shot creator, but sometimes not always a tough shot maker. And Tennessee's got to hope that he cools off a little bit, but they got to crowd him as well.
And those 4 threes in the opening half. A foul on, it was Kamara, so it's the freshman whistled for his first foul. Kamara from Belgium. We've got an international flair tonight on the floor.
Yes, we do.
Players from Serbia, Uruguay, Belgium, France.
Tennessee's got those 4 guys from around the world now. It's great to see. NBA now, 25% of the NBA born outside the United States, and it has certainly trickled down to the college level.
Wow, Bowden got hit on that 3, so he has 3 free throws coming.
You know, the one thing, Kevin, that I always talked about with my teams when you have a lead like this is you really have to practice the first 3 minutes of the second half. The worst thing that Georgia can do right now is to come out flat, be satisfied, and feel like they can coast the next 20 minutes. And with a young team, that's very, very dangerous.
Tom Crean coaching 9 freshmen this year. 3 in the starting lineup for a second straight game.
You know what we used to call that when I started coaching? The JV team.
Pass got tipped. Kamara out. Oh, it went back to him, and he was fouled.
Well, Anthony Edwards is going to be gone in a couple months. But this young man right here, you just talked about him. He's going to be around a while, and they love his potential. I call him Gumby because he's so athletic and elastic, and that is a perfect example right there. This young man has a very bright future.
He started the last 7 games for Georgia. He's getting better and better. 4-star recruit, one of those top 100 rated players in the 2019 class for Georgia. Tennessee, meanwhile, struggled to shoot in that win against South Carolina. Shooting 36% from the field. Nice take from Bowden. And so that percentage will rise. Tennessee within 17.
Tennessee right now, I've said this, I said it many times to my teams, let's get it to 10 with 10 minutes to go. You can't eat the elephant in one bite. You got to bite off small pieces. Have you ever eaten an elephant? I don't advise it.
It's not in my diet. I said 2020 I would start a new diet.
New Year's resolution.
If you're Tennessee, you've got to look at it that way. Just slice into the deficit each 4-minute segment. James, like that look for James?
Yeah, very much so. Good drive and dish. I like his aggressiveness.
This is Kamara again. That was Kamwa, got a piece of it, and a follow for Hammonds.
Side to side. That's good basketball.
There's Kamwa, he stuffs it.
Well, we talked about Kamara and Kamwa, young man from Finland, similar potential. When I watched him at practice Monday from behind, he reminded me of Grant Williams a little bit, and he is a tremendous rebounder. Tennessee going side to side right here, moving that ball, making the defense work. Bring it back again one more time. Good post up right here by the youngster from Finland. Finland, the home of Lauri Markkanen, the Chicago Bulls.
Yeah. That was a perfectly timed pass, too, for Kamwa. Well, if you're Georgia, or rather if you're Tennessee, the energy is definitely dipped a bit in the first few minutes. So if you're looking to make a run, this is the time, right, where you can kind of see some momentum away.
When I had a big lead as a coach, and we were up 19, I tell the guys, when we come back to the 16-minute mark, I still want to have a 19-point lead. I don't want an 8-0 run because we want it ready to play.
Gresham can't hit. It's the other side of the backboard. So Green's team had a 19-point lead at the break. Tennessee has hit a couple of shots here near the early minutes of the second half. Tennessee playing without Lamonte Turner. Ended his season a few weeks ago in late December, chronic shoulder pain, and decided to have surgery. So even despite that, it's been a resilient group, and Tennessee has started 2-1 in league play. Taking another chance. Bowden. A big one from 3 and the rebound aggression.
Those are the kind of shots he's got to make for this team. Certainly he's struggled in that.
A bit of a tepid start pace-wise for Georgia. And James couldn't hit that one. Right at the rim.
Yeah.
Now you got Wheeler. Passes it to nobody, but it looked like it was last touched by Tennessee, so it stays with Georgia. And it's the Bulldogs by 17 early in the second half.
Clayton chose baseball and Matthew chose football, and a gentleman that lives on my street told me when this kid was a sophomore, Matthew Stafford, he would be the #1 pick in the NFL draft, and that guy's name is Gil Grant. who just went into the Football Hall of Fame last July.
I'm glad you listened.
I paid attention.
I think I asked you, so how well does Highland Park draw? And you said, I like how you said it. Only 12,000 for high school football, that's all.
Great program. Great football program. Yep.
All right, Tennessee's got it back to 17.
Yeah, Conklon's he's got to shoot that ball. You get that size, you get it into the paint with 2 feet.
So there for the freshman, it's look to score, turn and
no
go.
doubt. Oh, no doubt about it. Be aggressive. Eventually, he's going to grow up and get stronger. See, right now, neither team taking advantage of turnovers.
That's kind of been the story for Tennessee. He's had some chances to force steals, hasn't really converted. Edwards to Hammonds, he gives him the point. He's got his back. 20-point lead.
Kevin, you know what you love about that play from Anthony Edwards' point of view? He could have easily created his own shot and just a little dribble drive kick out and reward his teammate, Rayshawn Hammonds.
Hey, well, and Stafford's not the only star in attendance. Our colleague at ESPN, David Pollack, taking the game.
I saw Kirby Smart at halftime.
Yeah.
He didn't see me, but I saw him.
I wonder if Kirby would like Anthony Edwards in his backfield to tear through some defensive lines.
He certainly has the profile.
He's well covered in that area, but my goodness, athletic ability. Vescovi is it short. Georgia, of course, at LSU winning the national title, but another strong year for the Bulldogs. Remember Georgia in the national championship game a couple of years ago?
Yeah. Georgia's locked in on a defensive end. They have really crowded. John Fulkerson, we haven't hardly called Fulkerson's name tonight.
Bonds can't get it to go. Yeah, Fulkerson, just 2 points, 3 fouls. He's taken 1 shot. Now he's hit it, but
not enough. Not enough touches. Was in foul trouble. But right now, what Tom Crean's doing is he's packed the paint. And he's daring Tennessee to shoot it. And they are not making shots.
Hammonds gets the bounce.
This might be as complete a performance in the 25, 26 minutes as Georgia has had this season.
Hey, Rayshawn Hammonds was a football player back in the day, speaking of football. So he was describing his game to me earlier as a wide receiver, but Mom said when he was going to high school, you're playing basketball.
Yeah, exactly, and he has had a really productive night tonight. He's given you the perimeter game with the deep ball, drives inside, and really good effort tonight by Rayshawn Hammonds, a junior from Norcross.
Well, it really does seem now, the performance from Edwards, of course, speaks for itself, but from Georgia's standpoint, it really does seem like not just Edwards, but many players are aggressive with their shot making, whereas Tennessee, maybe not so much. Do you agree?
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what? To play well at home is a great elixir when you're 0-2, because Tom Crean told us at practice yesterday and today, I think we're going to have a great crowd. And this has been a really good crowd tonight. The Kentucky crowd last week was off the charts. And you want to give these people, there are times when you coach basketball at a football school that you have to be good when football is bad. Well, Tom Crean doesn't have that problem here. He has the luxury of just showing progress right now and growing this program, because football is already pretty good. What Rick Barnes did the last few years at Tennessee was perfect, because football was growing. By the way, Jeremy Pruitt, they won 7 of their last 8. But while football was bad, Tennessee basketball was good, and that's great for the fan base. There's something to be said for being a basketball coach at a football school. I think if you don't have a big ego, it is a great place to be.
Well, how about Rick Barnes? There's Harris. He'll head to the line. You've got Rick Barnes, who coached at not just Tennessee, but Texas and Clemson, too. So not half bad programs for football.
Yeah. Harris has had a really good night tonight because of his energy off the bench, and since he's been back, starting with that game against SMU, that overtime win, he's been very productive role player, the senior. And I think on the other side, one of the things that attracted Tom Crean to Georgia was football, because he obviously has the ultimate football background, having married the daughter of a football head coach, and certainly two brothers-in-laws who are, for all intents and purposes, top of their profession. John and Jim Harbaugh. One thing I've known about Tom in his whole career, he will follow anybody for advice. Some of his best friends and key mentors are guys like Bill Belichick, Urban Meyer, obviously his brothers-in-laws.
If you've got Belichick on speed dial, yes, I would suggest use that outlet as often as you can. Plavsic got foul on that hook shot. So he's got 2 free throws. A 7-footer from Serbia was at Arizona State last year. Transfers, finally cleared to play for Tennessee. All right, so Saturday we've got number 10 Kentucky visiting Arkansas on Saturday at 4 Eastern. That's followed by a top matchup, a top 15 matchup, I should say, the ACC. Number 11 Louisville, number 3 Duke. That is at 6 Eastern. You can also catch it on the ESPN app.
And can I throw some kudos towards Nick Richards' way?
Of course.
Here's a kid that a lot of people thought might be one and done, which was not the case. And this year he's having a great junior year. He's had 8 double-doubles in his career, 7 this season.
I wonder what QB Brown would think of Nick Richards' play.
Now come on. Now you love the kid Richards, because he's going to score at a high rate in the painted area. And by the way, Kevin, let's talk about that on the other side. Come on. But LSU's got that dynamic duo inside of Days and Emmett Williams, averaging 15 rebounds between them.
Yep.
And of course, Skylar Mays, one of the most underrated players, I think, in all of college basketball.
Skylar Mays, the future doctor, by the way. It's the game winner. His time expires on Saturday against Mississippi State. So LSU's kind of been towing the line there, hanging on the edge.
He might have to put that on hold, Skylar Mays, at med school.
I think so.
He has a chance to play some ball after college, for sure.
It's a great point. If you had not followed LSU closely, Joe Burrow and company were making quite a run these last few weeks, right?
Yep.
They're all of a sudden 4-0 in league play. A couple of early losses to start the year, but they've won 4 in a row. And last night, forcing overtime in College Station, beating Texas A&M. So they're winning late and winning into the crunch time overseas.
I think Tennessee, over the first 29 minutes, they have been soft. That last rebound, Plavsic in his hands, doesn't rip through, grab it, and he gets fouled on the other end over the back. But I think when Rick Barnes watches this tape of his young team, there's going to be a lot of plays on both ends that he will describe as soft. And that is not, you watch Tennessee basketball the last 4 years, that's not a word that was in their lexicon.
How correctable is that, if you will, middle of a season? How do you approach that in now practices after a performance like this?
It's not 4-hour practices, but it is intensity in practice. I saw them on Monday. They did a lot of rebounding drills, wanting that toughness to carry over, and it has not carried over tonight on the road.
Corner 3 off the mark for Crump. Tennessee has used the 3 ball to balloon this lead to 23. Or Georgia, pardon me, 9 of 18 from downtown.
And when they have cooled off in the second half, Tennessee has not taken advantage of it with any kind of offensive rhythm.
Bowden leaves it short. Was battling a bout of the flu recently, but his shooting stroke has been off. Such a capable scorer, more than 1,000 points in his career.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. It's almost like he's got the yips in the last 4, 5, 6 games.
He was 1 of 17 from the field against South Carolina. There's an offensive foul. Pepper. They got a whistle for the foul. Ball back to Georgia.
Yeah, that's just a freshman playing too fast. They shot faked it. He shot faked off the 3-point line, got to the basket, and then was out of control.
Now, the good news for Tennessee, if you will, is it's still very early in conference play. This team has been through such a wacky 2-month stretch. Remember, Tennessee starts 7-1, beats 20th ranked with Washington, beats another ranked team in VCU later, eventually loses 4 out of 5. The offensive struggle started to kick in, but they played really difficult teams.
Well, they lost Lamonte Turner, as we pointed out. All 5 of the starters from the 31-win team a year ago are gone. By the way, Kyle Alexander, kudos to him. He signed a 2-way deal today with the Miami Heat. Jordan Bone is with the Pistons G League club, and of course Schofield and Williams are getting regular minutes with the Wizards and Celtics. So that's a lot of firepower.
Shot clock violation.
That's good defense, but now you got to turn it into offense. And as we look out on this court in the second half, it's usually 2, 3, or 4 freshmen for Rick Barnes. So growing up on the road. Hardest thing to teach a young team to do is win on the road, because you have to be able to handle adversity. It's 25 players, coaches, and staff, and everybody else in red and black.
Who was a player you coached who, even maybe at a young age, was really good at handling that adversity?
Ron Artest.
Yeah.
Yep. He loved the moment. He loved the road. He loved putting on a show. And I think Severe Wheeler's hurt right now. Yep.
A freshman from Houston. 4-star.
3 freshman starters.
Yep.
And they were shell-shocked at Auburn. You know, as good a night as Anthony Edwards has had tonight, they locked him up and threw the key away on Saturday in Auburn.
It really is a complete 180. Georgia was down by as many as 25 a couple of days ago. Now, the somewhat good news, if you will, Wheeler was able to walk off on his own power. Bowden and scores. If you're Bowden, you're happy to see one go down.
Yes. And Jordan's had a lot to do with a lot of wins at Tennessee. No major college offers coming out of high school in Knoxville. He really has had a solid career.
Traveled. I mean, it's no question, to your point, Tennessee coming off of the best 2-year stretch you can make the case in program history. School record 31 wins a season ago. And Rick Barnes has got a very young, fresh, inexperienced team, still at 10-5.
Yeah, no question. And you have to, you got to have amnesia. My thing always as a coach is, let's just start a 1-game winning streak. No matter how many you win in a row or lose in a row. And that's kind of indicative of the night they've had. Just inexplicable turnovers.
Kamara, he got blocked by Kamwa. Pons Johnson was there too. Stays with Georgia.
Now this could have been credited with 1 or 3 different players. Take a look. Kamara.
It looked like what they do pregame. Their ritual is shoot around comes to a close before the opening tip. It's become a Tennessee tradition. By the way, okay, I've got to go back. We mentioned Schofield as one of the players, of course, playing at the next level. I hope I saw this correctly. Schofield played a game with the G League affiliate of the Wizards.
Yes, he did.
And later that day,
yes, he did.
Joined the Wizards roster.
Yes, that's the G League. And playing for the Go-Go's.
That's amazing.
Playing for the Go-Go's. And you know, can I just make this point? We put some NBA stuff on. You know,
yes, you can.
College basketball is not great this year. Okay, the three-point line has affected offense.
Right.
84 kids put their name in the draft early and stayed in. Only 40 of them got drafted. Could you imagine Naz Reid of LSU in college right now? Lindell Wiggins at Iowa State. These guys would be dominating college basketball and be high draft picks. All those guys that we just talked about are playing in the G League, and nobody knows it. Sophomore Ty Fagan, another guy winning DNA, former Class 4A Player of the Year.
Holkerson scores it on this end. And just going back to your point, is a part of it, there are more G League teams, there are more opportunities?
Yeah, but you know what? You can still create a buzz and your draft stock will go up. And if some of those guys that I mentioned, how about Izzy Bradzikas from Michigan, came out as a freshman playing in the G League? These guys will be dominating college basketball like this guy.
Yeah, Edwards is now. So we're going to recap Edwards' night when we return. Georgia up by 21, looking for their first league win of the year. Best women's basketball player to ever play the game, not just in Georgia basketball history.
Yes.
4-time gold medalist. Yeah, we were looking up there going, wow, it's Tom Crean was just ahead of the game.
Yeah. Hey, we brought him into the Stegman Coliseum and said, we're going to retire your number before you even play a game. Now, hopefully the kid didn't buy it. And I don't think he did. And Teresa Edwards, you are one of the greatest women's players to ever play this game. Youngest Olympian ever representing USA basketball.
And Mike Mobley, the great SID here at Georgia, says that Teresa doesn't like when he tells her she was not only the youngest Olympian, but also the oldest Olympian, because she's going to appear in 5 Olympics now. So Edwards, of course, the potential to be #1. Okay, in the history of the SEC, here are the 5 #1 overall draft picks.
Now listen, I've got to tell you, I'm a draft man, okay? 12 months a year. I am not sure yet, for me, whether it's Anthony Edwards, James Wiseman, who I love. I think he's a young David Robinson, a young man who played 3 games for Memphis, NCAA ruled him ineligible, decided to leave school, get ready. LaMelo Ball is a tremendous talent. The interesting thing about this draft this year is many of the top 5 or 6 picks are not in college. Anthony Edwards will assuredly be the first player picked this year in the draft that played college basketball this season.
Does that, I'm sure it does. I mean, how much, great vision, by the way, how much does it help that where if you are a scout or a member of a front office, look, Edwards is the only guy playing that you can watch right now.
That's right, and that's tricky because there's a lot of detective work that goes into these guys, not only on the court, but off the court. And that's still a factor with a lot of these guys. James Wiseman, there seems to be no baggage. Great kid. Tom Crean told us yesterday, this kid's teammates love him, Edwards. And you know, as prolific a scorer as he is, you see that last pass he made? He has great vision, willing to give up the ball. And we've gotten a treat tonight to watch him.
He's always smiling. It's amazing. No wonder, because he's so good. Look at the vision here.
I mean, this is why he's got a chance. What you love about this kid, I mentioned Bradley Beal earlier, which would be a great backcourt Wizards. Tommy Shepard, I know you're watching, but his ability to create his own, but also handle the ball and make plays for others. There are no point guards in the NBA now. There are playmakers, guards. I don't call them what you want, P's, players. And he's it. This kid is it. He does everything really, really at a high level.
He's from up the road in Atlanta. At the age of 15, he suffered some adversity. He lost his mother and grandmother to cancer, a great battle from his mother, Shirley, or excuse me, Yvette, and grandmother, Shirley. He has used that as motivation to be the best that he can possibly be. So he really wanted to stay close to home. He's got family, of course, not far away. He was not enamored with the recruiting process, as Tom Crean was telling us.
That's right. He could have picked any school in America, and he chose to be a pioneer, if you will, and try to help Tom Crean build this program back. I was a big fan of Mark Fox, who's doing a great job in California. This program has had ups and downs through the years. What Tom Crean is trying to do is take it to another level in a league that you have to have another level. And Denny Avdia is from Israel. You know, LaMelo is playing in Australia. Tyrese Halliburton, what a great story. I watched them all last year as a freshman. Came out of nowhere at Oshkosh. Ready for this? Oshkosh, Wisconsin.
Yeah. The mock draft for the top 5 in Jonathan Gavoni's mock draft. Just updated it within the last week.
I talked to one NBA scout this week who said this is a tough year because not only do we know who the top pick is yet, like we did a year ago, we knew it was going to be Zion, John Morant, and R.J. Barrett. That was set by January 1. This year I've talked to NBA scouts who said my GM asked me to put together in my top 60. I can't do it yet. It's going to be that kind of draft, very volatile.
Georgia by 21. So tonight, after the Blazers and Rockets finish up, stick around for SportsCenter with Scott Van Pelt. He's going to break down Carmelo's return to Houston. Titans, Chiefs, Packers, 49ers, keys to victories in the NFC and AFC championship games. Plenty to get to. SportsCenter with SVP.
You better watch out. You better watch out, Conor McGregor. Cowboys coming after you.
Fran is a huge UFC
Conor McGregor, he's only 2-2 in his last 4 fights. He hasn't fought in a year. Cowboy has been active.
You've had your eyes on Cowboy for quite a while. You know his skill.
He's a New Mexico guy. That, I'll tell you who I love in the NBA draft, and you're going to see him this year, is Isaac Okoro from Auburn.
What do you like?
He's a junkyard dog. Great defender. He harassed Edwards on Saturday. They go way back, played against each other many times. That kid is going to be a solid NBA player. Only a freshman.
So physical, does the little things, of course.
Absolutely.
Auburn has Alabama tonight. Boy, there's going to be a lot of threes taken perhaps in that game.
Yeah.
A lot of two teams that play very fast. That's on ESPN2 coming up at 9 Eastern. Auburn visits Alabama. By the way, South Carolina has a 2-point lead over 10th-ranked Kentucky with 16 seconds left. So will the Gamecocks hand Kentucky its first conference loss in the first month of play? Boy, this is big for Georgia. You were talking about it before. 0-2. You had to go to Auburn a few days ago.
Yes.
Had a lead against Kentucky that the Wildcats just chiseled away at and eventually won last week here. But maybe the secret or the X factor and the formula for success is just being back here in front of a great crowd.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you this. You tell me what you think. How'd you think their practice was yesterday? How'd you think the energy was?
It was engaging.
Could you tell that they were either 2-0 or 0-2?
No.
I couldn't either. No. And that's what you're doing with the young team. You're trying to give them confidence and let them know we're going to keep getting better and better. And this guy's going to keep getting better.
Kamara adds 2 more. All Georgia with 3:48 left. What's the key to keeping that focus there the remainder of the way? How do you kind of instill that among your team?
You train them to treat every game, whether it's the #1 team in the country, which this league has had, or the worst team in the SEC. You train them by how you practice and prepare for the next opponent, that everything is the same. We don't treat Kentucky any different than we treat playing Valdosta State in the exhibition game early in the year. And you have to have a mindset, and you got to drill that mindset into a young team so it becomes second nature.
Georgia needed the Stars. You've got Jordan Harris shaking the hand of a fan there in the first row.
When you buy the Gucci seats, they tell you you're going to get introduced to the players sometimes.
Look out, Jordan Harris will be falling into your lap. Georgia needed the start it got today. And, of course, fell behind to Auburn by quite a bit. First half of their game on Saturday. They were down by as many as 26 in that game. It was a formidable one. But tonight, as I mentioned before, Georgia went on that amazing run to close out the half. Anthony Edwards could not be stopped. He poured in 20 in that first half.
Can I tell you something about Anthony Edwards? You just mentioned 20 in the first half. They've had a lead this whole second half, and you think about it, right? He has not forced anything in the second half. And he's looked for his teammates, and really impressed. Anybody who thinks this kid is a gunner is mistaken, because he could have gone out and tried to get another 20, and he didn't do it. He made sure we got the lead. Let me get my teammates involved, and we've seen a lot of that from him tonight. Okay,
for the first overall pick. Is it safe yet to say I'm taking Anthony?
No, it's not. Again, this is not that year like we had a year ago. You know what? Yeah, it is. Yeah. I'm going to take him #1 right now.
Timing is everything, Anthony.
Yep. Good, exactly. No, the other guy that really intrigues me is James Wiseman, because he is an aircraft carrier, and I know the NBA has trended smaller, but I'm going to take a hard look at Wiseman as well. But listen, if this kid's taking #1, I would have no argument with it.
Yep.
And I've told you off camera, the game is going to be easier for him in the NBA with the spacing and the fact when he throws it to a teammate. No offense to Donnell Gresham. He throws it to Bradley Beal. It's an automatic three.
Right.
You know what I mean? So the game is going to come easier to him at the NBA level. And it's hard for people to grasp that.
26 points for Edwards. 8th time this year. He's got for 20 or more. He wants one more before we get out of here.
Wiseman. I'm taking Wiseman. No, I'm kidding.
Oh gosh. And Jalen Johnson trying to step it down. Jalen Johnson wants to be your first overall pick.
And one thing we've talked about all night is, can you get your own? Watch this. Watch the dribble, move, step back. That's perfect footwork. The great Chuck Daly used to say, great coach of the Pistons and the Olympic team, Dream Team. What will the player do when the play breaks down? Because when you play against great NBA defenses, the play will break down. Can you get your own? And this kid can get his own.
Well, I know what Fran is going to be doing on Saturday. UFC 246, McGregor and Cowboy, ESPN Plus, Saturday at 10 Eastern Time.
Cowboy's been around a long time, but he's never had a fight. He's never had a fight like this that can propel him into a championship opportunity. So, watch out for the Cowboy.
All right, what's your...
McGregor's doing a lot of talking. He's more worried about Floyd Mayweather and Manny Pacquiao right now, okay? Come on.
So nothing's changed.
No, exactly. You know, when Anthony Edwards came off the court, Tom Crean talked to him for about 30 seconds and was continuing to coach him.
Yeah. And that's exactly what Edwards wanted when he came here to play for Crean.
Exactly right. I think Tom Crean's going to be impressed with the defense as well overall tonight.
Georgia holds Tennessee to 39% shooting from the field, 24% from three. Turned them over 10 times.
10 turnovers is phenomenal. But I don't think Tennessee put any pressure on that offense.
Fagan carried it. Well, you got quite a nice show from Edwards in Georgia for your first visit to Athens, right?
Absolutely, yeah. A great college town.
I'm going back to the place, by the way, to eat.
That was good.
That was
downtown
the best
Athens.
salmon bisque I ever had. I didn't even know there was something called salmon bisque. It was great.
I never did call Jimmy Dykes for restaurant recommendations. I should have. Jimmy is Mr. SEC.
Hey, you're blazing your own path.
I like it. Yeah, we experimented today, didn't we?
Where are you headed next, by the way?
Kansas at Texas on Saturday. Yep. Fun to get outside of conference and see Anthony Edwards. I mentioned how much I love the draft. I've been a part of it for much of my career, and not just the international guys, but getting a chance to see Anthony Edwards tonight special.
Well, for Georgia, a big win. Tennessee is no question going to be near the top of the SEC when this season comes to a close. So this will be a resume booster for Georgia, who has challenged itself this year. It's so early when we're talking about NCAA tournament and the bubble, but Georgia, a bubble team right now, picks up a big win in big fashion. Anthony Edwards with 26 tonight. The superstar.